Hi, this will be a pictorial on how I created a large cement mushroom for my garden. It was supposed to be made out of hypertufa, but that didn't go so well. So first off, I made the mushroom framework. I turned a small tomato cage upside down for the stem and cut a large oval shape out of 2x4 no-climb wire for the cap. I attached the cap using the legs of the cage, which I bent over to secure it, and I gave it a little bump for the middle of the mushroom. I also tied outdoor wire to secure the cap more to the stem. I wired chicken wire around the stem and over the top of the mushroom cap. Next, I balled up newspaper and taped it down to the cap to get the shape I wanted. Cover the balls of newspaper with whole sheets of newspaper just so that you can see the shape better. Once you get the shape you want, cover it all with chicken wire, and then you have to bend the chicken wire into a nice shape also. You may notice that I stuffed some newspaper up the stem of my mushroom, and that was just when I was going to use hypertufa, that would enable me to use less material. But the hypertufa, I tried it and it was really crumbly the next day, so I ended up removing it all, so you won't have to stuff your stem with newspaper. The cement soaked fabric draping was a much easier way to go in the end. I used old sheets, scrap fabric, and burlap, and I soaked them in a very thin mixture of 1 part gray Portland cement and 2 parts sand. Make sure you wear your mask and gloves, and just dump your fabric pieces as you want them into the concrete mix or the cement mix and rub them around, make sure it gets all over the fabric. I dipped a large piece of fabric and laid it down on top of a drop cloth, and I put my mushroom frame on it upside down. And then I brought the fabric up and around the underside of the cap, and you just secured it by poking the ends through the chicken wire. For the stem, I used a piece of fabric that wrapped all the way around the stem, and I tied it in place and secured it by poking chicken wire ends through it. And while it's upside down, continue to layer the fabric on the bottom of the cap as needed. If the fabric wasn't completely covered in the cement mix, just scoop a little bit more of the mix out with your gloved hands and smooth it over the fabric. To give the stem more interest, I ripped strips of burlap, soaked them in the cement mix, and spiraled it around the stem. Now the next day, after it's dried, I moved it to my garden. I had dug out a little area to set the mushroom in, so it was in a tiny bit of a hole, and I put down an old bird bath pedestal that the top had broken off a long time ago, and a couple pieces of rebar that were sunk into the ground next to the pedestal at a slight angle, so the stem would fit right over the top of the pedestal and rebar. Once it was in place, I kept adding the cement mix and smoothing it over with my gloved hands until I was satisfied by how the mushroom looked. Now, a few days afterwards, I noticed a fine crack lines in the top of the cap, and I decided to drape some concrete soaked gauze fabric over the cap just to give it a little extra character. I could have just applied a little more cement mix to the top, and honestly now I wish I would have left the edges smooth instead of raggedy, but oh well, live and learn. And this is what it looks like now 3 months later. A few fine cracks in the top, but nothing to worry about. I hope this video will inspire you to add a little whimsy into your garden. If you like this video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel where I focus on being creative on a budget. Thank you.